Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa Parujikacharya Ashtotar Shri Srimad's Divine Grace Shri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parujikacharya Ashtotar Shri Srimad's Divine Grace Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavin Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Thank you. Nashta Prayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service unto the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. On the 7th day of July, 2025 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. I should have said on this, I did say that, okay. Okay, so we're going to read a lot of verses from 26 to 54. And then we'll chant this one. It's the only one with a substantial purport. Okay. Sinivalyam mridalipya snayat kroda vanirnaya yadilabhyeta bhaisrotas yetam mantram hudireyet. If dirt dug up by a boar is available, on the day of the dark moon, one should smear this dirt on his body and then bathe in a flowing river. While bathing, one should chant the following mantra. So this is the continued description of the Payavrata. Okay, here's the mantra. Tram devyadi parahena vasayastana michata uddata sinamastubhyam papmanam me pranashaya. O Mother Earth, you were raised by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of a boar because of your desiring to have a place to stay. I pray that you kindly vanquish all the reactions of my sinful life. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Nirvartitatma niyamo devamarchet samahitaha archayam standile surye jale vasno goravapi. Thereafter, one should perform his daily spiritual duties and then, with great attention, offer worship to the deity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and also to the altar, the sun, the water, the fire, and the spiritual master. Namastubhyam Bhagavate Purushaya Mahiyase Sarvabhuta Nivasaya Vasudevaya Sakshine. O Supreme Personality of Godhead, greatest of all, who live in everyone's heart and in whom everyone lives, O witness of everything, O Vasudev, supreme and all-pervading person, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Namo Vyaktaya Sukshmaya Pradana Purushaya Cha Chaturvinshad Gunagyaya Gunasankyana Hetave. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, the Supreme Person. Being very subtle, you are never visible to material eyes. You are the knower of the 24 elements, and you are the inaugurator of the Sankhya Yoga system. Here's a small purport. Chaturvinshad Guna, the 24 elements are the 5 gross elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether. The 3 subtle elements, mind, intelligence, and false ego. The 10 senses, 5 for working and 5 for acquiring knowledge. The 5 sense objects and contaminated consciousness. These are the subject matter of Sankhya Yoga, which was inaugurated by Lord Kapila Dev. This Sankhya Yoga was again propounded by another Kapila, but he was an atheist and his system is not accepted as bona fide. Namo Dishirshne Tupade Chatur Shringaya Tantave Saptahastaya Yagyaya Trahi Vidyatmane Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who have 2 heads, Prayaniya and Udayaniya, 3 legs, Samanatraya, 4 horns, the 4 Vedas, and 7 hands, the 7 chandas, such as Gayatri. I offer my obeisances unto you, whose heart and soul are the 3 Vedic rituals, Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, and Upasana Kanda, and who expand these rituals in the form of sacrifice. Namak Shivaya Rudraya, Namak Shakti Dharaya Cha, Sarvavinjadi Patihe, Bhutanam Patihe Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, Lord Shiva, or Rudra, who are the reservoir of all potencies, the reservoir of all knowledge, and the master of everyone. Small purport. It is the system for one to offer obeisances unto the expansion or incarnation of the Lord. Lord Shiva is the incarnation of ignorance, one of the material modes of nature. Namo Haranyagarbhaya Panaya Jagadatmane Yogaishwarya Shadiraya Namaste Yoga Hetave. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who are situated as Hiranyagarbha, the source of life, the supersoul of every living entity. Your body is the source of the opulence of all mystic power. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Namaste Adi Devaya Sakshi Bhutaya Te Namaha Narayanaya Vishaye Naraya Haraye Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who are the original personality of Godhead, the witness in everyone's heart, and the incarnation of Narayan Rishi in the form of a human being. O personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Namo Madhakatasyama Vapushe Dikatasrihe Keshavaya Namastubhyam Namaste Pitavasase. My Lord, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who are dressed in yellow garments, whose bodily hue resembles the Marakata gem, and who have full control over the goddess of fortune. O my Lord Keshava, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. As far as I can tell, Marakata can mean either emerald or sapphire. So here it means sapphire. Tvam sarvavadadak sam vadenya vadadarshabha ataste shreyase dhira Padarinum upasate. O most exalted and worshipable Lord, best of those who bestow benediction, you can fulfill the desires of everyone, and therefore those who are sober for their own welfare worship the dust of your lotus feet. Anbaratanta yang deva srischatat pada padmayoho spihayanta ivamodam Bhagavan me prasiditam. All the demigods, as well as the goddess of fortune, engage in the service of his lotus feet. Indeed, they respect the fragrance of those lotus feet. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead be pleased with me. I'm going to go just to the English. Kashyapa Muni continued, by chanting all these mantras, welcoming the Supreme Personality of Godhead with faith and devotion, and offering him items of worship such as Padya and Arghya, one should worship Keshava, Rishikesh, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the beginning, the devotee should chant the Dvadashakshara mantra, which Prabhupada points out is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and offer flower garlands, incense, and so on. After worshiping the Lord in this way, one should bathe the Lord with milk and dress him with proper garments, a sacred thread, and ornaments. After offering water to wash the Lord's feet, one should again worship the Lord with fragrant flowers, incense, and other paraphernalia. Purport. The Dvadashakshara mantra is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. While worshiping the deity, one should ring a bell with his left hand and offer Padya, Arghya, Vastra, Gandha, Mala, Abharana, Bhushana, and so on. In this way, one should bathe the Lord with milk, dress him, and again worship him with all paraphernalia. If one can afford to, one should offer the deity fine rice boiled in milk with clarified butter and molasses. While chanting the same original mantra, one should offer all this to the fire. One should offer all the prasadam to a Vaishnava or offer him some of the prasadam and then take some himself. After this, one should offer the deity Achman and then Betelnut and then again worship the Lord. Thereafter, one should silently murmur the mantra 108 times and offer prayers to the Lord for his glorification. Then one should circumambulate the Lord and finally, with great delight and satisfaction, offer obeisances falling straight like a rod, Dandavat. After touching to one's head all the flowers and water offered to the deity, one should throw them into a sacred place. Then one should feed at least 2 Brahmins with sweet rice. One should perfectly honor the respectable Brahmins one has fed, and then, after taking their permission, one should take prasadam with his friends and relatives. For that night, one should observe strict celibacy, and the next morning, after bathing again, with purity and attention, one should bathe the deity of Vishnu with milk and worship him according to the methods formally stated in detail. Worshipping Lord Vishnu with great faith and devotion and living only by drinking milk, one should follow this vow. One should also offer oblations to the fire and feed the Brahmins as mentioned before. In this way, until 12 days have passed, one should observe this Payovrata, worshiping the Lord every day, executing the routine duties, performing sacrifices, and feeding the Brahmins. From Pratipat until the 13th day of the next bright moon, Pratipat is the first day of the month. From Pratipat until the 13th day of the next bright moon, Shukla Trayodashi, one should observe complete celibacy, sleep on the floor, bathe 3 times a day, and thus execute the vow. During this period, one should not unnecessarily talk of material subjects or topics of sense gratification. One should be completely free from envy of all living entities, and one should be a pure and simple devotee of Lord Vasudeva. Thereafter, following the directions of the Shastra with help from Brahmins who know the Shastra, on the 13th day of the moon, one should bathe Lord Vishnu with 5 substances: milk, yogurt, ghee, sugar, and honey. Giving up the miserly habit of not spending money, one should arrange for the gorgeous worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, who is situated in the heart of every living entity. With great attention, one must prepare an oblation of grains boiled in ghee and milk, and must chant the Purusha Sukta mantra. The offerings of food should be of varieties of taste. In this way, one should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should satisfy the spiritual master, Acharya, who is very learned in Vedic literature, and one should satisfy his assistant priests, known as Hota, Udgata, Advaryu, and Brahma. One should please them by offering them clothing, ornaments, and cows. This is the ceremony called Vishnu Aradhana, or worship of Lord Vishnu. O most auspicious lady, one should perform all the ceremonies under the direction of learned acharyas and should satisfy them and their priests. By distributing prasadam, one should also satisfy the Brahmins and others who have assembled. And now we're going to chant this verse. Dakshinam Gurave Tadyad Vitvibhyas Yas Cha Yatarhataha Anadyenashva Pakangsh Cha Priniyet Samapagatam Dakshinam Gurave Dadyad Vitvibhyas Yatarhataha Anadyenashva Pakangsh Priniyet samupagatan Dakshinam Gurave Dadyad Vitvibhyas Yatarhataha Anadyenashva Pakangsh Priniyet samupagatan Dakshinam Gurave Dadyad Vitvibhyas Yatarhataha Anadyenashva Pakangsh Priniyet samupagatan. Dakshinam Gurave Dadyad Vitvibhyas Yatarhataha Anadyenashva Pakangsh Priniyet samupagatan. Dakshinam Gurave Dadyad Vitvibhyas Yatarhataha Anadyenashva Pakangsh Priniyet samupagatan. Anyone else? Dakshinam Gurave Dadyad Vitvibhyas Yatarhataha Anadyenashva Pakangsh Priniyet samupagatan. Dakshinam Gurave Dadyad Vitvibhyas Yatarhataha Anadyenashva Pakangsh Priniyet samupagatan. Anyone online? Boycott. Dakshinam, some contribution of money or gold. Gurave, unto the spiritual master. Dadyat, one should give. Vitvibhyaha cha, and to the priest engaged by the spiritual master. Yatarhataha, as far as possible. Anna by distributing prasad. Ashvapakan, even to the caṇḍālas, persons habituated to eating the flesh of dogs. Cha, also. Priniyet, one should please. Samapagatan, because they have assembled there for the ceremony. Translation. One should satisfy the spiritual master and assistant priests by giving them cloth, ornaments, cows, and also some monetary contribution. And by distributing prasad, one should satisfy everyone assembled, including even the lowest of men, the caṇḍālas, eaters of dog flesh. Purport. In the Vedic system, prasad is distributed, as recommended here, without discrimination as to who may take the prasad. Regardless of whether one be a Brahmin, Shudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya, or even the lowest of men, a caṇḍāla, he should be welcome to accept prasad. However, when the caṇḍālas, the lower class or poorer class, are taking prasad, this does not mean that they have become Narayan or Vishnu. Narayan is situated in everyone's heart, but this does not mean that Narayan is a caṇḍāla or poor man. The Mayavad philosophy of accepting a poor man as Narayan is the most envious and atheistic movement in Vedic culture. This mentality should be completely given up. Everyone should be given the opportunity to take prasad, but this does not mean that everyone has the right to become Narayan. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, is anyone interested in going out and performing the Payavrata ceremony? Hare Krishna. We can appreciate Lord Chaitanya's gift, how really simple and straightforward is this process of Bhakti Yoga that we've been given. And we don't have to learn all these complicated mantras. You spend 16 seconds learning that one, and that should take you back to God if you chant it properly. But here is also showing the great breadth and depth of the Srimad Bhagavatam. This Payavrata ceremony, which we may recall, Kashyapa has also said that he performed when he wanted to have children, right? So it's not just for the ladies. But it's involved and it requires a lot of attention and hiring all the priests, and things like that. But it works. Especially in this case, we'll see that the result is that Vamanadev, the diminutive Brahman, will take birth and he'll do many things at once. He's going to relieve Aditi's anxiety by returning their land, the demigod's abodes to the demigods, so that she can then associate with him again. But he's also going to show the exalted nature of Bali, and although he's taken down to the lower planets, Vamanadev is going to agree to become his doorman, amazingly. And in the next Manvantara, Bali will be Indra. So he gets to be Indra after all, but he's now, of course, going to be showing his saintly devotee qualities. That's why, because he's a disciple or a descendant of Prahlad Maharaj, one of the Mahajans. But this, we've seen this fairly detailed, description of this Payavrata. And so this is, part of, we should understand how deep and thorough is this Vedic culture. There are all kinds of sacrifices and mantras for different purposes. And we may know there's a whole tantric culture, which also you can get the power to kill your enemy and do things, negative things like that. But we've been given the essence of the highest, positive aspect, which is this process of devotional service centering on chanting this a simple mantra, but most profound mantra, the holy names of Krishna and Radharani, which is also in the Vedas, as we know. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Iti Shodashakam Nam Kali Kalmashanashanam. Natak Padataropaya Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. These 16, there's no better means than counteracting the evils and ills of this Kali Yuga than chanting this mantra. This Hare Krishna mantra, it's right there. You see? And Lord Chaitanya, I quoted this verse, I think, somewhere in his preaching. So this is what, you understand not long after you start reading Srila Prabhupada's books that the Vedic culture is very vast. It's like a great desire tree. If you want to learn the art of fighting, there's Dhanurveda. If you want to learn how to tell the future from the stars, there's Jyotirveda. If you want to learn medicine, there's Ayurveda. So it's, as it said right at the beginning of the Bhagavatam, it's like a desire tree. Nigama kalpataror galitam palam. But this Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit, meaning that if you follow the Srimad Bhagavatam under the guidance of a realized soul, then you'll get the ultimate final benediction that the human life can give, that you can actually achieve, which is ending your sojourn. Sojourn means stay. Ending your sojourn in this material world. We've been through so many situations. We've mercifully forgotten all of them. We've died. We've been ill in all different kinds of ways. We've been eaten, in our different incarnations as lower animals or even as humans sometimes. Been through it all, you see. But this Bhagavatam gives us a very systematic and wonderful way to get out of it, to make this our last physical birth in this world. By developing pure love for Krishna and returning back to Godhead. So this is, the whole breadth of the story, as you see, as Vamanadev coming, is another incarnation of Krishna, who comes in a perfect form to do the mission, right? The boar incarnation, right, is mentioned at the beginning. Why did he come in that form? Needed someone to excavate that earth which had fallen down in the Garbhodak ocean, right? So that's the perfect form. He's got that big horn, and he's able to get down here and he balances it going up. And there's this aggravation from Hiranyaksha, who is soon taken care of once the earth is safely placed on the surface of the water. And what about, we read about Matsya. We read a little bit about Matsya, but also about Kurma. Remember Kurma's special ability, right, to serve as the pivot where they were moving. Otherwise, the whole mountain would have fallen into the bottom of the ocean. So he comes there in some gigantic Kurma form, holds up the mountain, and the churning can go on nicely. So this is the Lord's mercy. He comes in forms just suitable, and of course, last canto, the Shringadev. Yeah, he came in that form to fulfill Brahma's prediction, Brahma's blessings, but at the same time to annihilate, Hiranyakashipu and all his soldiers also. So this is the way Krishna relates to his devotees. He comes periodically as in all of these avatars, and then once in the day of Brahma, he comes as himself, right? He comes down and enacts the replicas of what's going on in Goloka Vrindavan and on Boma Vrindavan. And he also performs other activities that aren't going on there, killing so many demons and things like that, as he says in the Bhagavad Gita, in order to protect the devotees, to annihilate the miscreants and re-establish Dharma in this world. So we're fortunate to have our relationship with Srila Prabhupada, being followers of him and his followers, and receiving this knowledge that he worked so hard to give us through the Srimad Bhagavatam and his other books. And as we've heard recently, that these four main books of the Gita and the Bhagavatam, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and the Nectar of Devotion provide a full description of not only the philosophy and the means, or and the sadhana, but also a description of the result of what's awaiting us if we actually fulfill it. There's descriptions of love of God in the Chaitanya Charitamrita and the emotions that were being experienced, by Lord Chaitanya and his sincere followers. And in Nectar of Devotion, so many details about Krishna's, pastimes, his qualities, his form, and everything. I keep having this idea of producing a small book. I'll run it by you, see what you think. If you read the Nectar of Devotion, you're going to find a list of Krishna's 64 qualities, right? And then you find each one of them expanded, an example, a verse of the example in his Leela, you see, of the different qualities. Now, it wouldn't be nice to have a book with those, because one thing you don't have is those, nice shlokas. Of course, we now have the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, but even there, you look in the book, there's no word by words. So, but a book of all list of the qualities taken straight from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and then each quality as it manifests in his pastimes, with the verse or verses. There may be one or two sometimes, and word by word, so you can memorize them and you can just meditate on Krishna's 64 qualities. Wouldn't that be nice? I just need one of my Sanskrit friends to, maybe Ramapati can do it. Give us the word for words for those verses describing Krishna's qualities. I'll give you the book if you don't have it, and you see if you can do that. Because you have the accurate translations, so it's kind of easy to do, That would be a great service. And then, of course, the next, then my duty is to put all of those verses describing the qualities into poetry, English poetry. That would be a nice meditation. Okay, I haven't said that I'm going to do it yet, so, but it would be nice if but if someone would provide the word by words, and and that's the first stage, then the other would be the dessert, as it were. So this is what I have for this, and there's not too much to say that I can think of all of these details. But one thing, it's so how should I say, kind of formidable to see if you want to perform something that's ultimately not just glorification of Krishna, but it's for a material purpose. It can get very complicated, right? The karma khandas is just, and if you make a mistake in one word in the mantras, you can get a contrary result. And so it's very strict, the chanting the right thing. And don't they have referees? The Brahmins who are listening to the other Brahmins chant, and if they make a mistake, they say, wait. I've heard about that. There's also Brahmins who are checkers, of the mantra, because it's such a hazardous thing to chant the mantra wrong. We know from the pastime of Chitraketu, right? Vishwarup was the substitute guru, because Indra had offended Brahaspati and he walked out and they couldn't find him, and so they became weak and then they were conquered. So they needed a guru. So who was Vishwarup's father? Do you remember, Ramapati? Tvashta. I think it was Tvashta. Anyway, so the story is that Vishwarup was loaned, I guess, to the demigods because they needed a guru, and he was performing that function of a guide. But he also had some lineage from the demons, and so he would also offer some oblations to the demons. You see, so Indra was spying on him. He was hiding behind a pillar and listening and watching, what he was doing, and he heard him give this offering to the demons, and he said, "Oh, So he, as Indra inevitably does, right? That's his pastime. He loses it, does something that he then has to pray for. So he cut off Vishwarup's heads. He had 3 heads, and each one of them turned into a different kind of partridge, a pigeon. I remember that distinctly. It was like far out. But then what did Tvashta do? Here he's been betrayed. For the favor of the demigods, he loaned his son. He encouraged, and he killed him. So he performed a sacrifice. One of these sacrifices, all with the Brahmins and the priests and the mantras and everything, in order to invoke a demon who would then kill Indra. That was the purpose of the sacrifice. But he was so upset that he chanted one word in reverse, wrong. You see, he made a mistake in the chanting of the mantra, which he didn't notice at the time, apparently. And instead of getting a demon who would kill Indra, he got a devotee in the form of a demon, disguised as a demon, Vitrasura, who was actually Chitraketu, you see, and whom Indra would kill and send back to Godhead. So this is, and it's brought out in some of the purports, the need of chanting, especially if it's some material mantra that you're chanting. We begin chanting Hare Krishna. How many people chanted perfectly the first time, especially if you're a Westerner? You never, you make some mistakes, in the chanting, and you even may switch a word here and there. It takes a few minutes to get it right, but it's a simple mantra. So that's such a blessing that the process, if you're a little intelligent and surrendered and work at it, you can pretty much do it right, you know. Although you still have to do it purely, you know. That's another thing. But the point is that it's not. There are pitfalls. You know, the main thing is committing offenses. That we have to know what the offenses are, and we have to avoid them. Otherwise, our whole enterprise the whole creeper can be pulled up by the mad elephant. You know, the offenses. So it's also we have to be very attentive and very careful in our process. But it's not like these so complicated and so expensive. You know, all those oblations with the ghee. You know, imagine trying to get a 55 gallon barrel of ghee that you have to put. You know how much that would cost? Several $1,000s probably. But it's, and hiring the Brahmins to channel these mantras, it's just not practical, it's not necessary. So we've been given the shortcut and to perform the greatest sacrifice, which is, of course, Sankirtan Yajna. As Prabhupada often says in the Bhagavad Gita, this is the practical sacrifice for this age. And you can achieve the ultimate goal of life, which is to finally end our sojourn in this world and to return home back to Godhead. So, but we still have to do it right. So we should know the knowledge, the process, as given nice detail in the Nectar of Devotion, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Bhagavatam, and Gita. And also embrace that most important service, most dear service to Krishna, which is to give these things to others, give this practice to others. There's that famous little phrase that he gave to Nityananda and Haridas for preaching. You remember? Bolo Krishna, Koro Krishna Shika. This is like chant Krishna's name and worship him with all your heart. Follow his instructions, and to others them impart. Become a preacher. And in this way, Krishna says in another context, become a guru and on my order and save this world. So that's, Prabhupada expanded this whole movement on that basis. This is Lord Chaitanya's movement, and of course Bhaktisiddhanta and Bhakti Vinod, and they did their best to spread Krishna consciousness in India, but Bhakti Vinod, especially Bhaktisiddhanta, was very eager that it spread around the world, following Lord Chaitanya's prediction. And so he, of course, sent some devotees to England, to London, but they couldn't quite do it. They weren't ready, as Prabhupada was, to associate with the general mass of people. They went to the lords, right? And they made one or two lords into devotees or whatever. But it wasn't successful. But Prabhupada, with his patience and his wonderful personality, mercy, and cooking ability, and everything that he had, his surrender, was able to attract the pioneers of this movement in America. And now it's still growing. It's growing all over the world, and we're part of it. Okay, any discussion? We're almost at 8:30 on the Payal Vrata. And yes, here. Oh, okay.
Just a quick, I wanted to share a story from yesterday.
Please.
I met one lady she works at the Fleet Museum in Balboa Park. And she
what museum?
Fleet Museum.
Okay.
And she came over to my table on the break. She passed by, and then another time. And she came, and she's like, well, you had the Krishna book on your table, right? And I actually distributed it. That was my last one. I really wanted that Krishna book. And she told me she found on the web, on the internet, some information about worshipping Krishna and Saraswati. She was actually really into it. And I offered her some other books. She took them. She was actually eager to take the Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Wow.
In our shed, there's an incomplete set, and we had an extra copy of Madhya Lila, the middle chapters. She was eager to take this, but she didn't have anything to support with, so I gave her just something smaller, and she promised to come back next week. But I was just surprised to see how people, find something on the internet. Oh, I like to know more about Bhakti, Saraswati, Krishna.
Yeah. The internet is a two-edged sword, so to speak. You can really get lost in it. But there's a lot of Krishna conscious content on there.
More and more.
Yeah, and one of the treasures is, as I'm sure many of you have discovered, you have the Prabhupada memories, you have the following Srila Prabhupada, the whole thing there, and you have that movie, Hare Krishna, the mantra, the movement, and the Goswami who started it all, right? Really well done, you know. So there is like in the material world itself, you know, if you're fortunate and if you're searching, then by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, who spread it all over the world, you'll be able to meet a devotee and start your journey back home.
Also, those two Matajis, last week they took the Lilamrita. They had no idea, they never heard of Prabhupada before. But I just offered to them and I described shortly about Srila Prabhupada, and they said, yes, we'll take it, we'll read about him. The whole set.
Wow.
Amazing. The eagerness of people to take Srila Prabhupada's books.
But you're performing such a wonderful service, you know, being out there available so people can actually contact Prabhupada and Krishna through his books. Okay, Rasika, he's got the floor.
Hare Krishna. In the beginning, you spoke a little bit about Sankhya Yoga, right? So, I wanted to understand, is there any difference between Jnana Yoga and Sankhya Yoga, or is it the same?
Jnana Yoga, I always understood, is shoot straight for Brahman. You know, I don't know if they have all this analysis of the different 24 elements and all these different things. You know, so it emphasizes knowledge of the Atma and knowledge of the Supreme Brahman, I think. So, but I don't know, that's also neti, isn't it? I think that's one of their mantras. Not this, not this, not this, not this, not this, not this, and what's left after all of that is Brahman, you know. But I mean, we have little tastes of it in the Bhagavad Gita, but of course at the end it says Sarva Dharma Parityajya, just surrender unto me, you know. So, but really there's elements of karma yoga and jnana yoga in bhakti yoga. You know, we certainly want to cultivate knowledge of spirit and matter and what's the difference and all these different things. I remember when I went to India the first time, the third canto had just come out, the final volume of the third canto, which is the teachings of Kapila Dev. In those days it was four volumes for the third canto. And that was the only book I took with me to India. I was in the middle of reading it, and I remember reading it on the plane. It was so fascinating, understanding, you know, that the false ego when it comes in touch with the mode of goodness, then the mind is produced, and the mode of passion, the intelligence is produced, and the mode of ignorance, everything else is produced, all the senses and the objects. I just found it very fascinating, because the basic understanding of God is that He's the creator, right? That He's the creator of everything. But actually, how that takes place. The beginning with Mahavishnu and the glance and Garbhodashay Vishnu and all of these different things, and then in the way how do we get our body back again after being absorbed in Mahavishnu for eons and so forth? Well, we still have those subtle elements, in our subtle body is still there, right? The false ego, the intelligence, the mind, And so, and in relation to the different modes of nature, then things gradually develop like that. So it's all planned out, and what happens is completely inconceivable on the material plane, by the material scientists. But the ultimate result is that we belong in the spiritual world. We've been given these bodies, which through a tremendous complicated process. But it doesn't help us. This is a way in which we can imitate Krishna. Great. Now that but that's what keeps us imprisoned here. So the only solution is to use this very body that we've been given to enjoy separately, but with our knowledge, because we are human beings with our intelligence, to engage the senses and the mind and the intelligence and the ego, the sense of self, in connecting to Krishna through service, loving service. And that'll actually take us out of this world. and before we'll actually feel, love for Krishna. And because of that, we'll be feeling love for everybody. Prabhupada says, that's clear. Everyone is part and parcel of Krishna. They may be a little crazy because they forgot him and they're identified with the body. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to help them, as we've been helped. That's the whole way this movement expands that way. Okay, so I'm going to end with a poem. Okay, this one you've heard before, but they're ever fresh. Prabhupada would quote this verse a lot. Kamadinam katina katita patita durni deshas. Tesham jata mayana karuna nattapano prashantihi. Utsrijayatan hatiyotapate sampratam labna buddhis. Tvamayata kshadanam abhayam mamniyung svatmadasye. In how many ways have I sought to obey the seductive demands of my wicked desires? They've shown me no mercy, yet on I've gone shamelessly trying to quench lust's unquenchable fires. But now I'm rejecting these hellish desires, for my higher intelligence now has awoken. O Krishna, O shelter of fearlessness, please let me serve you with faith that will never be broken. Now, it's interesting, you try to figure, well, who wrote this? It appears in the the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Lord Chaitanya, the beginning of his explanation of the process of devotional service, of the Abhideya section of his instruction. And in the purport, Prabhupada doesn't attribute it to anyone, but I read a transcript of a lecture by Bhakti Siddhanta in which he said this is written originally by Madhavendra Puri. So I can try to confirm that. But it's Prabhupada he would quote that verse a lot, and it's very instructive. So the whole thing is the intelligence, to strengthen the intelligence by hearing, associating, and in this way to control the mind and kick out the desires. But the only way to do that is run to Krishna and please let me serve you, and you can sublimate my desires. You can take my mind away from that. Otherwise, you try to do it on your own, it's impossible. Vishayavanivartan de nidahara siddhehinak rasavarjamasopyasya param dishtra navartate. To will, to some kind of, at a certain point, one would say, I'm going to give this up. I always think of the, alcoholic or the drug user, this is killing me. And so some friend tells you, okay, I'll give it up, But unless you get a higher taste, the desire is always there in your heart, And if you get into the wrong company, or you pass by a bar or something, you may say, well, I'll just go for one little drink. What's the harm? Boom, you're off, fall away. But the Krishna consciousness, it kills the desire. You get the higher taste, and you no longer even want these things. You can't be tempted. And so that's, this verse is a kind of an expansion of that. My higher intelligence now has been awoken, and so I don't want to follow those desires anymore. Please let me serve you. Let all my desires be toward Krishna. And that's the higher intelligence, and that's the higher taste that we can take shelter of. Okay, thank you very much. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol. And so next, text 56. Which, no purport. Off and running.